Alright guys, there's State, and today we're going to talk about a new guide system that's been found in Shadowlands. So this is aimed at helping out new players, and I think it's going to be a really good addition to the game. So let's have a little look at what it is, and what some good points and bad points and potential improvements could be made to this system. Obviously it's early days, so we need to know a bit more about it yet, but let's have a look at what it is. So user Monra on Reddit found this a couple of days ago in the Shadowlands beta. Now it's basically just an NPC that you go up to and you click if you want to become a guide or not. And that then lets you be a sort of mentor to new players in this chat channel, this new player chat channel, which I'm assuming is going to work like a bit like a zone chat channel, and we'll dig into that in a minute. But I think this is a really good idea. So for new players, if you're just coming to the game, there's a heck of a lot in World of Warcraft to understand, like just from all the different systems, not even stuff like talents, even just things like where to go, where to quest, what the best leveling route is, what to do in a dungeon, do you need to follow the group, all that kind of stuff. No one tells you that, you just got to figure it out. So this is going to be perfect for people that are completely new to MMOs in general, not just World of Warcraft. So I think for new players, if you've literally just made your account, I think when you come into the game, it should automatically put you in this chat channel. So you've got no option, well, you've got the option to come out of it, but you just automatically get put in it. Because even things like that, like how would you know to join something like World Defense, that you've got to type /join World Defense or something like that? You know what I mean? You just wouldn't know that. So if it popped up with a little pop-up when the game first loaded in and said, you're a new player, we've put you in this chat channel, if you need any help, type / whatever it is, /5 to go into the new player chat channel, and then you can speak to veterans, and it just explain the system, that'd be perfect. And I think what would be a good sort of compromise so people aren't always forced into this if they don't feel like they need it, if they've come from an MMO where they're more experienced and they understand the systems of World of Warcraft. I think with the new the level and experience that they've set up for players in Shadowlands, maybe once a character's gone through that and they're ready to leave and go out into the main world, it should probably pop up and remind them, you've been flagged as a new player, you're in this chat channel, do you want to stay in it, yes or no? Just give them a simple dialogue option, and then they can go from there. They can make the choice, the informed choice themselves. So the chat channel, we still don't know exactly how this is going to work, but I'm assuming right now it's just going to be like a zone chat channel, like trade or zone chat. So if that's the case, this could become incredibly spammy, which is one possible downside, and people are going to ask the same sort of questions over and over again. If you think about an average chat window in World of Warcraft, it's quite small, and not many people might realise you can scroll up and see previous messages. And if there's a lot of people in, especially when this is quite a new feature, or around key times where new players come in, obviously like the launch of Shadowlands, it might bring a lot of new players in, or even all the returning players, that have lost a bit of knowledge, forgotten what they need to do and things. So it could become incredibly spammy, and for the veterans in the chat, answering the questions over and over again, it might become a bit of a drag. They might not feel up to doing that. So that maybe a fix to that sort of thing, if this is the case, could be a sort of buddy system where, if you think about like some of you may have been like buddies or prefects in school when you were growing up, if you're kind of paired with someone, so like it could say to the new player, if they go into this chat system, it could say, there's 50 veterans available, this one isn't busy right now, choose a veteran, or it could just automatically match you. And then you can chat one-on-one with that veteran. If you don't get along, or if that veteran's not particularly helpful, you could just back out of it and go and join another one, similar to like a dungeon finder type thing maybe, but it just puts you in a chat channel one-on-one with a veteran. So something like that could be a better fix than like just a general, like a normal text channel. The benefit though of it being like a normal zone text channel is, from again going back to school, sometimes people don't always feel comfortable asking questions, like what people consider stupid questions or like really newbie questions. So if somebody does ask that in a zone chat, people can read that, and that might save 20 people from asking the same thing, so it kind of works both ways. One thing people have sort of commented on Reddit in the thread about this is, what about people selling boosts and stuff? Like they could see this as a prime area to advertise. Oh, there's tons of new players, let's just sell boosts. Maybe they'll think that's what you do if you don't know what to do. So that needs to be rooted out straight away. There needs to be some way in the system to cancel that completely, otherwise it'll just be spam hell and not very good for anybody. So the chat channel is going to be quite helpful. I think it's a really good idea, but could the system go further? And again, it's early days, so we don't know if it is going to go further already, but let's just discuss it anyway. So what about dungeons? Now, I know people that have been in dungeons and have gone in and just been really without realising it, disruptive. They've just been running off. They've not stuck with the group. They've pulled mobs before the tank. They've queued as a healer, but just started DPSing. They've just been totally clueless, because again, nothing prepares you for that when you're going into a dungeon, especially if you're just playing on your own. You've got nobody to tell you what to do or to help you. So could there be a specific new player dungeon finder where these new players can just queue up and it will always match them? So say you've got like 3 DPS, or it could even specify that they should queue as DPS initially to learn the dungeons, the layouts, to see what the tank and the healer do, to ask them questions. So if a new player could queue up in a new player's dungeon group finder and then be matched with at least 1 or 2 veteran players, then they could go through that dungeon. They know that the vets are going to be patient with them. The veteran players could always be the tank and healer, so veterans perhaps could only just queue up for that role, or there could be 1 DPS veteran as long as there's always a tank or a healer veteran, and then they can always give advice and guide the players through. So I think this will be make it a lot more comfortable for new players to get stuck in, because you probably know yourself, like even myself as what I would consider a decent player. You go in a dungeon, you're tanking or whatever, you make a mistake, people are dicks, and it's just not pleasant, and it does put you off, especially if you've just thought, right, you know what, I've wanted to tank for years, I'm going to tank now, and then you tank, and immediately the first dungeon you do, someone's an arsehole, it puts you off, it knocks your confidence, and then you might just go back to DPS, so you're missing out on something that you could have enjoyed if you'd have just had a decent group of players with you in the first place. So penalties in the system for new players, like you're gonna get people that abuse this system, that just come in there and they're just acting like an idiot, or they're being cocky, or they're just disagreeing with people that are trying to help and just get in the way of constructive, positive interactions from veterans and new players. So there needs to be some sort of flag for this. So whether that's like you can just right click on, like similar to how you report somebody now, they could just be flagged as unhelpful. So then maybe if they get like 10 flags, it alerts a GM, and the GM can take some action on that, and both other veterans and new players can do this. So that needs to be something that's probably in place from word go. So let's think about this from like a veteran player standpoint. So there's already a nice little chunk of the community that readily like take the time out to help new people, that realise that the new players are good for the game, they're healthy for the game. We need the new players, to keep the game going. After all, the subscriptions that fuel this game, the more money that goes into the company, the more money that people take home at the end of the day. No, I'm kidding. The more money that goes back into the game. So obviously it's good for everybody if there's more people playing. So we need to look after these new people and keep them in. So for those people that readily go and help people anyway, this is perfect. They don't have to seek people or just randomly meet people that need help. They can specifically put themselves out there as, I'm a veteran, I'm a helpful player. Come and see me if you need some help, whisper me, or I'll take you through a dungeon. So it's going to be perfect. And you've got to remember that if these new players come in and they're supported and stuff, if they're a good player, or they're a soon-to-be good player, but they just need some help at the start, these are going to be filling your raid teams in the future. So look after these people, it just makes sense. So this is a possible controversial subject, but rewards for this system. So I'm with the majority that think that you shouldn't get a reward for doing this. If you want to help somebody, it should just be completely just completely pure. You're just giving your time to help somebody else, and that's just the way it is. And the reward for that is the good feeling that you get from doing that. And obviously you might make a friend and all that good stuff, and you can see that person progress in the game. And like as I said before, they could become part of your raid roster, they could become part of your Mythic Plus team. It's a good thing. And they can obviously pay that forward, and it's just productive and positive to see that. So one user on Reddit said, so we're basically just going to become unpaid GM interns, which, is fair to a point. It's a little harsh, though. But somebody corrected that to, we're going to be more like volunteers, because that's kind of what this is. No one's asking you to do this. There's no rewards tied to it currently, and I hope it stays that way. But you're just coming through, you're volunteering. It's totally optional, and if you don't want to be involved with new players at all, then you don't have to be. It's totally your choice. So I've seen this comparison to the Final Fantasy mentor system, which I know nothing about because I never played that game. But what I believe from that system is there's a lot of unhelpful people that have come in because there was a sort of semi-reward where you got this little crown icon next to your name. People came to refer to it as the Burger King crown, which makes sense. But people were just thinking, oh cool, you can get a crown next to your name, it looks good, it makes me stand out, I'll sign up to the mentor system. They had no intention of helping people, and obviously you can see how that was unhelpful to new players. And you got a lot of people just being idiots in it, basically, just competing with each other, providing totally pointless, useless information, and it just wasn't helpful. So this is kind of the reason why, the basis of the whole argument, why there shouldn't be any rewards for this, and I think that just makes sense. I think it's quite good too, the fact that you get a marker when you're out in the world doing this. So if you're, obviously, you're not just, if you're a veteran player and you sign up to be a guide, you're not just going to sit in Orgrimmar or Stormwind just answering questions. You're going to be out doing your own stuff, especially when the expansion launches and things, you're going to be doing your own thing. So if you're out there in the world and there's a new player, they might have forgotten about this whole guide thing, but they might just see you and whatever this marker is, and think, oh, actually, you know, I'm not sure what's going on here. Or you might think, I've been thinking about professions. Maybe I should ask this guy and see what he says, you know. And it's just, I think it kind of adds to that whole MMO feel of, you know, we're working together. Yes, you're like a hero as a player, but, you know, we all need to work together to take down raid bosses. So why not just work together, you know, in the world in general? So it kind of brings people together. And that's a really good thing, I think. So requirements to become a guide for a veteran player. So these seem really, really low at the minute. All it says on the beta currently is that you've got to have BFA Pathfinder Part 2. You've got to have an account in good standing, which makes sense, because obviously if you're a hacker or something, or you've been recently banned, then obviously you're probably not likely to be a good guide. You might disagree. But I think maybe there should be another few requirements to become a guide. So maybe if you could get a brand new player perhaps signing up to be a guide after playing the game for a week, which might not have a lot of knowledge, so what's the point in that? So I think maybe if there was some sort of tracker on your account where they could see that you've played for a month, or maybe you've played for at least a month sub, or if you've got, say, 20 days / player time with one character, just something so it should, maybe 20 days is quite high actually, make it like 2 days, but just something that shows that you've actually played that character. Or it could be something like you've cleared all the current dungeons on Mythic, or Mythic +5, or just something to show that you've engaged in the content, you know what you're talking about. Obviously that's still quite low. Or maybe even you've cleared the current raid on normal, you know, because you get a lot of very knowledgeable, helpful players that don't necessarily do, you know, high-end PvP or PvE, so those players would miss out if the requirements were too high. So they've got to be balanced, but I just think they need to be raised a bit from where they are currently, just to make sure that people are actually like legit able to help new players. If you've got the requirement that you need to have been playing the game for a certain amount of time, that's going to root out people like bots, you know, that just make new accounts just literally spam until they get banned, and they just make a new one again. So it's going to root out bots from this system, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, basically in conclusion, I think this is going to be a really good system. It needs some fleshing out, and we need to go and see how this is going to be implemented fully. It's very, very early days. But yeah, I think if you're a new player coming into Shadowlands, it's going to really streamline that whole experience, because you're going to go from basically getting no help and having to just Google everything, which a lot of people don't seem to do, or know that they can do for very specific things like, you know, how do I handle this quest? So with the new leveling starting zones and with this new guide system, as a new player, you're going to get a lot more support that you never would have had before. And it's just going to be a lot easier to access that. So yeah, so what are your thoughts on this? Are you going to become a guide? I think I will be a guide myself and just see how it goes, you know. See if it's really spammy or not. Obviously nobody wants to be spam like mad, but we'll see if they put something in like the buddy system or whatever. And do you think it's going to be helpful? Do you know any new players that are going to benefit from this? Let us know in the comments. So cheers for watching, guys. I've been LaserBeast, and I'll catch you next time.